And welcome to another week of Better You in 52. And what this is a weekly gathering. What the two, three, many of us, me talking to you about how to make you or help you become a better person over the next year, 1 week at a time. Now, Better You in 52, here we believe that the moment you decide you want to do something better, you are already doing something better. You're already a better you, if you will. And what we're just providing are weekly things, weekly activities, weekly thoughts you can put into your processes to maybe spark something to be better. We're not looking for a every single week building you to a better something or 52 weeks of continuous learning and lessons to get into someplace. These are all independent lessons, independent thoughts, independent ideas to work on your better you. And so, if you want to get towards that more better you, it's pretty simple. We just ask you to stop by our website, betteryouin52.com. Find out more resources you can get to join up. And very soon, this is week 6 in the process. We're going to get to very soon. We'll get to a place where we will actually start joining in together and have group sessions, group chats, group togetherness, because the better part of being a better person really comes from gatherings of other folks and getting input from them. Sometimes it's a little hard, sometimes a little harsh, if you will, but you learn from this whole iron sharpens iron thing. You learn from watching other people, observing other people, and helping other people get better as well. So it's not about a group coaching. It is about really group. Well, it's not about a coaching session itself, but really a grouping of folks just sort of gathering. So yeah, it is kind of group coaching, if you will. But that falls in line directly with what we're talking about now as we're preparing for all those things, where we are asking you that maybe your step to a better you means a step to a more professional line of help, someone who can help you out on a more serious level, if you will. And that means maybe paying for therapy, paying for counseling, paying for someone to chat it up with you. And while that is a bit of a downer, if you will, from what we're saying, because essentially I've already said, you say you want to be better and then you're better. It's that simple. It does turn into something that can be a bit easier when someone who knows what they're doing can help you along the way in going through the process of helping you plan and plot and look towards what a future could be, whether good or bad, and how to basically escape it, get away from it, get out of that situation where you think that you should be doing better, but you aren't. It is a situation where most people want to say they want to do better, and most people have issues with counseling, with therapy. I myself have had issues with counseling, with therapy, and have had to essentially get over it, if you will. Speaking to someone is great. Speaking to someone who has your best interest is awesome. And speaking to someone who has the actual tools to manage you when things get awry is excellent. It's like having a friend who does some sort of nursing or does some sort of um, things for people who use things versus going to an actual doctor, an actual clinic. Your friend may have some of the tools to go along with it and can tell you a couple things, but when they're in their professional capacity, they're actually in their job doing stuff and have the lights and the equipment and the buzzers and things. It's a totally different thing. If you're having a heart attack, your friend who has some medical skills, it's not going to do you very good if you're just out middle field someplace. You need to go to an actual doctor. That doctor doesn't care about anything that you guys have in the past. They care about dealing with that issue right then, and that would be your heart, essentially. So think about that. Unwrap that a little bit, if you will, as we talk about maybe it is time that you actually put in a little cheddar and a little thought process into the counseling process. And while it's not hard, or while it's not necessary in some cases, talking to a licensed professional can help in many situations that you're dealing with. As I said, having the tools to work things out works a lot better. If your friend, using that same analogy, but you have an issue with something that's a bit more simpler, let's say plumbing. It's one thing to have a guy friend who tinkers around with lots of stuff and has all these different tools and can kind of figure stuff out and watch a lot of YouTube and does stuff because they're either curious about it or they're trying to save some money, and they come over and help you out. I once had an issue where our water line busted, and I was great that my brother-in-law knew enough about opening up, slicing water lines and patching them up and going through them, because it saved us bringing out a plumber to get a backhoe, dig it up, do all that stuff, and it saved the neighborhood all the issues of the water running down the entire street, because it was a mess and people were basically yelling at me about the water coming through. But when my shower went out, I didn't call my brother-in-law to come out to dig up the thing and do the twisting and work things out and kind of make it work until we can get something better coming out. I called the plumber because it was an issue that I knew was someone with professional tools, professional technology, and would know exactly what to do on that case. With my brother-in-law and our main line of water, it took a couple trips back and forth to the store to get the right pieces to get things going, because he's not a plumber. He's a great guy, but he's not a plumber. He's done these things before in emergencies, and it was an emergency, and we took care of it. The plumber, we talked to him on the phone. He had a good idea what was going on, but before he showed up with the right pieces and talked us through what's going on. And in various cases where we've had plumbers come out to fix various things in our house, they were there to tell us whether we had to go buy brand new stuff or whether we can live with what we had and fix it going through. A licensed professional can help you work through your issues by knowing the tricks of the trade, if you will, knowing what types of things normally trigger things or things you can work things off, and going back and forth. A licensed professional has been trained properly, we hope, to work through the issues that you're going through, or similar issues, I would say, because they have not met you yet, but your issues are unique to you. But how to walk that tightrope of the talking things out and the letting you talk and the intervening and not interjecting themselves into the situations. However, talking to a licensed professional can make it worse. Now, here is something that that I never really thought about, but I recently picked up on from watching some YouTube videos. On YouTube, I watched various counselors who give various advice on how to work through your world and how to deal with counselors and professional therapists and psychologists themselves, and what to look for, whether you need to really go look for real help, or if it's something that's, just a minor thing nagging you down, that if you just work through a couple things with some tips and tricks they give, we'll be fine. One thing I learned about talk therapy, specifically just going to a therapist and yakking things out and just talking stuff out, that sometimes in various situations, the issues can become worse, or you can find yourself at a plateau that does not progress when you're talking to specific therapists, as in you get to a point where you just can't progress and you have to talk to someone else or do something different. Or what typically happens when things go wrong is you get stuck on a topic, you get stuck on a issue, stuck with a conflict, and you cannot resolve that. This is not a plateau where you're doing great, then all of a sudden the greatness doesn't get better. This is where you basically bump into a brick wall. You can't break through that wall. You can't break through that barrier to the next part. What it does is it makes you feel bad about that conflict, about that issue, about that person, about that relationship. And when you think about that issue, you feel awful. And when your therapist is literally having you talk about that issue over and over again, it's exponentially making you feel bad in that situation. So there are cases when talking it out is the worst thing to do. Ignoring it is never a good thing, but sitting there and trying to talk the feelings out and trying to work them out does not work out well. So there are cases where licensed professionals doing exactly what they should be doing can make it worse. Yes, mechanics can screw your car. Plumbers can screw up your house. Builders can screw up things like that. People who know what they're doing, talk to anyone who's gone to a restaurant and got food poisoning. People who know what they're doing or should know can mess things up. It happens. It's not going to be something that's routine or that person goes out of business, of course. But you may be the person, and your issue may be the one that those two don't work out well together. It's not you, it's something. and you can't necessarily blame the therapists themselves because they're doing what they're been trained to do. But just like any other relationship, working relationship, you work better with some people than others. And when you're forced to work with some people, you may deal with it. And when you have a chance to not work with other people, you don't deal with them. Your therapist is also someone you have to decide they're good to work with. You'd have to decide you want to show up to. And if they're not working for you, then they're not working for you. So if you're going to decide to choose therapy and go to therapy, I have two here in the Chiron there. You can choose one-on-one or group. And it's essentially the same way, whether it is a in-person viewing, like you're laying on the couch and talking to somebody, or sitting in the room in the circle, or online where you are either texting or video chatting with a counselor, or sitting in a group of the Zoom meeting version of people chatting things back out. Essentially, what we're going to build into our platform for our group gatherings. You can choose the one-on-one talking, where you are the main 100% attentive person in the room with a counselor who's going to go with you in your journey. They're going to, for lack of a better word, trigger certain things and trigger certain feelings and try to walk the conversation in a way that makes you feel comfortable and helps you to bring out the issues that you're going through. They're trained to just sit and listen and observe, see what's going on with you in the activity, to see where you're going with your stuff, and hopefully drive you towards a resolution and not towards jumping off a cliff. Because, like I said earlier, sometimes you get into those feelings and you can't get out of them. Their job in those cases is to back up and then go a different route and work on something else until you're ready to open that up. In group counseling and group therapy, it's literally you with a room full of folks, and you're all talking about more or less the same thing, the same issue. If you can think of a Alcoholics Anonymous type meeting where everybody's coming in and just gathering together and talking about their situations, one person may open up with a story, and the people around them who've been around them more, or the people with the skills to run the show, run the room, will sort of walk them through what's going on and let them talk in that sense. And when you're in an actual therapy session, you have all the bells and whistles of a licensed professional who is walking through the group through what it is they're working through. And everyone may not have the same issue, but everyone in the group, as you get to know the members of the group and get to see what their issues are and how similar they are to yours, you'll find that everyone is just trying to be better, be just like this program, be a little bit better, and they're trying to work the things out. So the empathy that's there, the camaraderie that's there, sometimes the antagonisticness that's there, because when people in a group are together, there's some accountability to the group. So if you show up for group sessions and aren't sharing or aren't willingly sharing, there's going to be some backlash from the folks who are actually trying to get the work done. There are issues with either or. So whether you want to be one-on-one or you want to kind of share the wealth in your group, in your therapy, think about that as you choose your therapist. But the most important about this thing is that you are not looking for a friend. You're looking for a counselor. You're looking for someone to walk you through the issues, not just give you a hug, not just say you're beautiful, not just hold your hair while you're puking, metaphorically or actuality. Because therapy and counseling are really important things. Number one, the therapist went to school and did a lot of work, a lot of practice to learn what their skill craft is. So they deserve to make some sort of living off of that thing. They're not just milking money out of you and making you things weird stuff. They're not life coaches. They are therapists. They're there to help you work and resolve through issues. They're not your friend. They're not there to take your side. They're there specifically to let you release some of that negative energy and negative thought out into the world in a controlled environment where they can help you formulate it into something that's actually useful and not just pent up rage or pent up frustration or fear or whatever it is that you're holding on to. You're not looking for someone who's just there to support you. You're looking for someone who's there to prop you up as you learn to support yourself and go on to yourself and do it yourself. You're doing the work. All they're doing is sitting there and moderating and sitting there and just making sure that the car is within the lines and you're not veering off into anything crazy. You're not looking for a friend. This is not a relationship in a sense that you're going to go off and have drinks with the person. In fact, when you're out in public, they essentially ask you or basically tell you that it's up to you to initiate any sort of actual contact. You'll see this with doctors and things as well. Your doctor will not look up, recognize you, and say, "Hey, how you doing?" Because then you have to explain to people you're with who this person is and why you know them. And if you explain to them, well, they're a psychiatrist, well, how do you know that psychiatrist? If you don't want to lie to people, you have to tell them that you're in therapy. And some people don't want to let that out. But you are free to initiate any contact with them out in public. You can say, "Hey, Dr. Smith, how you doing?" And they will talk to you on a very friendly, low level out there. They won't talk about anything therapy-wise. Maybe they'll confirm an appointment if you want them to and move on. And that is your choice in there because you don't have to expect to be hanging out with your therapist, but you can be friendly with them in public if you choose to. And if you want that all down low, then you don't have to. They're fine with it. Trust me, it's what they do. So that's what we have this week in talking about maybe to consider paying for your own counseling. First thing is talking to licensed professionals can help you out. Maybe you have an issue that you just can't work out in your head or just won't go away, or you really, really are being pushed to talk it out. It might be a relationship issue and you need to go in a group, as in you and that person relationship, to work it out. Y'all can't resolve it on your own. So someone needs to help you walk through it, maybe mediate it, if you will. That can happen there. However, the wrong therapist with the wrong technique and maybe just the wrong situation can maybe make it worse. You may run into a situation where there's something that you will not resolve because you don't want to, or cannot resolve because you can't figure out the next step, or can't be resolved because it's active and someone is literally actively attacking you on that. Talking it out in talk therapy can make it worse. Ignoring it will always make it worse, but talk therapy sometimes doesn't work for that. So consider that when you think about whether you're going into counseling and therapy or not. Will the talking of the issue make it better or worse? That's the big kicker on that one. If you're worried about the situation and sometimes the cost, one-on-one or group therapy is a choice, either one-on-one with a person or in a group. That should be a little bit less expensive. And you can see if your actual insurance pays for this, and if going the actual medical route in person doesn't work for you, or you think the expense is too much. These sorts of things also exist online for fractions of the cost. It still costs because there's still a platform being built. There's the websites and marketing and all that stuff. And so there is still a means to an end to get this stuff done. But, and this is the real kicker on this, there are ways to get into counseling and there's ways to get into therapy that are low cost to no cost without having to, do an armed robbery and be forced by the court to go show up to somebody. So choose the method that you like to go through, and then you go through and you can figure out the best way to do that. Whether you talk to an actual counselor, whether you go and do it online. Online is pretty convenient now and pretty inexpensive, so it works out to the best part of how those things work out. And the most important part is, remember, this is a therapist. This is a counselor. This is a psychiatrist. This is the person with a lot of letters behind their names, and they're not there to be friendly. They're there to get a job done. They may like you. They may not like you. That's not even a part of the job, that they don't have to be engaging with you other than doing what they're doing for their actual therapy. But they're not going to hold you to kid gloves. They're not going to baby you. They're not going to be your friend. So if a serious situation pops out, they're going to do what they can do to help you get through that. But their job is not to hug you unless you're in child therapy, and there's a lot of hugging in that. So that is how it is. The biggest thing about these things is, of course, remembering it's the cost. the biggest differentiator from people going to a therapist, other than stigma, which is a issue, is literally it costs money and time to do that. So if you feel like you're not getting enough out of what you're doing right now, put an extra emphasis in finding the time and then finding the resources to make that happen. It's like your health. If you are in bad, declining health, and you know you need to do more exercise to get your body strong and eat better so that you got nutrients going on, that all takes time and effort that you're not doing something else. So you need to prioritize, just like you prioritize getting that walk in every day, prioritize that hour a week with your therapist and make sure it is sacred and no one can get around that. Better You in 52 is not necessarily sacred. We're just a bunch of folks who just believe in personal development, and sometimes it's spiritual development. So we're not afraid of throwing around the God word, because most of the people there are Christian type folks, believe in God. They're different sort of denominations, if you will. And those that don't aren't anti God, they're just mostly anti religion. So if you're looking for a safe place to just talk things out, we are not counselors. This is not professional help. We're just a group of folks looking to be better. And we're always looking to help other folks who just want to talk things out. So reach out to us at the website, betteryouin52.com, and just ask some questions, make some queries, tell us what it is that you need. And if it's anything, I'll have a conversation with you and we'll chit chat for as long as you need to, just to sort of get you off the ledge, metaphorically, if you will. If you're looking for more serious help, there are resources available also at the website that you can link to, so you can find a way to get counseling, essentially. And we're also going back to the Better You in 52 community. So we'll have a group of folks and meetings and all that stuff. And it's going to be free, just like everything else on the website is free. Well, I'm not trying to turn this into a life coaching thingamabobber. I have other life coaching thingamabobbers to deal with. This is going to be a free community that you can come in and, you know, obeying the rules, being fair, being nice, being cordial, and just sort of let off some steam, and you'll have other folks around you to be there with you. So check that out. We're rebuilding that. We've had something in the past. We're rebuilding that so that we make it easily accessible and less expensive for me to put up, so that it can be completely free to you. Once again, go to our website, Better You in 52, and you can see these video lessons as they pop up every single week. That's all they have on the website, essentially. About the program, we'll have your links to your sources and just the videos to get this, to get better, to do what you can do to upgrade your life and your time. Now is the time. Last week is past, and tomorrow you might not get here. So work on it right now. That's basically what I'm asking, basically what we're doing here. I'm Jay Cleveland Payne, and this has been another edition of the video for Better You in 52. I found at betteryouin52.com. Every single week, we'll put out a video like this. It's not the most, as you can see, it's not the most professional looking thing. I'm in my living room at home, and it's a mess. Just like my mind is a mess a lot. My life is a mess a lot. But slowly but surely, it's something. I'm putting this thing out into the world, out into the universe. Hopefully it can help someone out there. And if you want to join in and get a little bit of extra help, I'm here. And there's plenty of folks in the community who will be there to help you through. BetterYouIn52.com is the source. Thank you very much for being a part of this and sticking with this video. If you enjoyed this video or got something out of it, we ask that you like the video here on YouTube, or you subscribe to the videos so that you don't miss them. They come to your feed automatically, and click the bell. That way they'll get a notification. So whenever I actually launch these things, usually on Saturdays, and they post on the website on Mondays, you get a chance to know that it's up here so you can get a quick look at it. So with that, I say thank you very much, and we'll do this again next week.